KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our community radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
You are locked into Hour 2 here on RSVP with Jill Munroe, live on KBLA Talk 1580. We are back with Dr. Nixon. So before we came forward, there was a question in the chat from Pretty Brown Mimi. She also wanted to know what natural herb recommendations you had for
inflammation.
Yes.
I would recommend to anyone not to look at herbs as you look at medicine. Like, my head hurts, I take an aspirin. I have inflammation, so I should take which herb. Herbs work synergistically with each other in connection to how healthy your body already is. So, case in point, you take an aspirin, you may feel relief within a couple of hours, but it's not really relief, it's a Band-Aid.
Okay.
Herbs are not about the instant fix.
It's the continual usage which builds up.
Yes.
Okay.
In combination with what you're eating. So if I were to tell, the caller, take Melissa, which is an herb to calm the body and reduce inflammation, but she has a poor diet, she's going to grow weary of natural health because she's not getting the aspirin effect. We're a self-medicated community, and until we get off medications, and I'm not advocating that we do, but until a person starts to change their mentality to look at health and food as medicine, like a
lifestyle, day to day.
Yes, it has to be that. Like when I give advice nutritionally, I'm giving orthomolecular nutrition advice. I'm not giving what the trainer.
That's an SAT word.
That's an SAT word.
I get it. Break
it's a
that
big
down
word.
Really quick.
So orthomolecular nutrition is looking at, let's say, labs, for example, like you get CBC, metabolic labs, female hormone labs, male hormone labs, and then I look at the labs and I say, oh, they're deficient here. What do they need? Oh, wait, their glucose level, they're pre-diabetic. I can't give them this food. Well, a lot of these trainers that we hire, even though they know nutrition, they may not know metabolic health, where people like me and more advanced medical doctors have that training in the naturopathic health field. So I couldn't say take this and you're going to get this effect when I don't know your current status.
So everything's
height, height, weight, waistline. How many times a day do you go number 2? How many times a day do you go number 1? If you're a man, how many erections do you get in a day versus not? Okay. All those things matter in determining someone's natural health state. If someone is high blood pressure, I couldn't recommend certain herbs because some herbs thin the blood. So a lot of people don't consider that when they take herbs into their body. I heard this, YouTube says that, and I get it because we're desperate to be healthy. but we can't be so desperate that we overlook. And I get encouraged because I see so many natural health professionals like myself that are not just flippantly giving erroneous advice, but a lot of people who get into the herbs space and the juicing space are there to make their dollar. And I guess because I grew up in like an agricultural family, working in the fields, I saw what it took to earn a dollar, and I would never feel comfortable just taking a dollar to get it. I want to, educate the people. So there are plenty of herbs to reduce inflammation, but it starts with your nutrition. If your nutrition is trash, no matter what herb you take, it will not be effective.
Okay. Well, Pretty Brown Mimi
yes,
sent
Pretty
you
Brown.
green heart, so
thank
she
you.
approves. She's like, thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am.
So you have to tell us
yes, ma'am.
where we can find you, where we can catch up with you, get more information about you, tap into what you have going on.
I appreciate that. My website is www.mynutribliss, N is in Nancy, UTRI, B is in boy, LISS.com. I named it NutriBliss because nutrition and the bliss would be massage if you needed to come in. The massage work I do, I would not say is a standard massage. It's more body work. It's more intuitive in the sense of we want you back healed. I'm not doing foo-foo massages, although I can.
But you're there for the real work.
I want to make sure that you know that once you work with me, you will not work with anyone else.
Locked in.
Yes, and I love working with people. My health journey is its own thing, and I would have loved to know me. And I think that's another driven thing for myself, the passion behind it. Loving athletes, loving sports, loving to see people be the best talk radio hosts that they can possibly be.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. And, if you go to my website, mynutribliss.com, you'll find my Instagram page.
But what's your Instagram?
Yes, my Instagram is mynutribliss.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Listen,
mynutribliss.
So they know all ways to get in contact with you. Well, I thank you for joining me this evening. It's been very informative. I have to have you back.
Please do.
Get more commentary on these topics.
Yes.
In the meantime, when we come forward, we are going to get into more trending topics and headlines. We're going to talk about Billy Porter and why he says he is going to have to sell his home. We're also going to talk about why people over 50 are opting to live alone more and more. We're going to get into Issa Rae's comments on why she feels that success was greater later for her, and that if she had gotten successful in her 20s, it wouldn't have been good. We'll get into her reasons why. All of that and more. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Chase Ink Business Premier Card is made for people who make things happen, like me. I'm Sam, founder and CEO of Manifest, a product design company that makes everyday products designed smarter. I get 2.5% cash back on purchases of $5,000 or more, plus unlimited 2% cash back on all other purchases, which helps us make more smart ideas into a brilliant reality.
The Ink Business Premier Card. Learn more at chase.com/business premier. Chase for business. Make more with yours. Real business owner compensated for their participation. Account subject to credit approval. Restrictions and limitations apply. Cards are issued by JP Morgan Chase Bank. Any member FDIC.
Extreme heat can make you very sick and can be deadly. For Californians 65 and over, it's important to have a plan. Ask your healthcare provider if your medications affect your ability to cool down. Know the signs of heat illness and stroke, as well as the location of your nearest cooling center or air-conditioned space. And if you have loved ones over 65, be sure to check in on them on hot days. Learn how to stay safer from extreme heat at heatreadyca.com. Brought to you by the state of California.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor.
Squibb and Pfizer.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who pay attention to every little detail, the ones who fuss, tinker, and sweat the small stuff. Because you know the tiniest thing can make the biggest difference when it comes to keeping business moving. We get it. We're the same way, offering access to product experts to help you quickly and easily find what you need. So whatever your industry, you know you're always getting professional-grade products. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
The rent is too damn high. KBLA joins you in calling for affordable housing. The LA Tenants Union is a diverse, tenant-led movement fighting for the human right to housing for all. The LA Tenants Union demands safe, affordable housing and union rent control. They organize against landlord harassment, mass evictions, and displacement, and mobilize for the repeal of the Ellis Act and Costa-Hawkins Act. The LA Tenants Union is on a mission to strengthen tenants' political power through education, advocacy, and direct action. To get help with your eviction or other landlord-tenant issues, take action for justice, or become a member, visit latenantsunion.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, it's Jill Munroe. You are locked into Hour 2 of RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So, we have some topics that we are going to get into. We have so much to discuss. We're going to talk a little bit about Billy Porter. So, he recently came out and revealed that he might actually have to sell his home. He said that basically, because of the strike, because he had several jobs lined up, things that were going on, he's had to let those things go. Obviously, we're not working because it's a writer's strike and a Screen Actors Guild strike, but it's impacting him more than he thought that it would be. He's one of many that have been affected by this strike. The writer's strike is going into its third month. In a recent interview with the Evening Standard, he said that taking this cost-saving measure is his real life and that he has to survive. He doesn't know when they're going to go back to work. He further explained that through the struggles that life as an artist, until you make it, and he says he hasn't even made it fully yet. He doesn't have FU money like some people do. He's still check to check. And he was supposed to be in a new movie, on a new TV show that was starting in September. None of that is happening. So until then, he, to the person that said it was rumored that someone on the opposing side of the executive producers of studios and networks, someone in there said that they were going to starve the writers and actors out until they had to give up their apartments. And he is saying that it's already happened for him. He also called out Disney CEO Bob Iger. He said that there was a statement that Iger recently made calling the strikers' demands unrealistic. He said there's no contract for it. There's no reason for Nielsen ratings anymore. They're not important. He said streaming companies are, and this is Billy Porter saying this, they're no opaque as far as their viewership numbers. They don't reveal anything. So for him, he said that the business has evolved. And without the change being updated for that, he said to hear Bob Iger say that the demands for a living wage are unrealistic. Meanwhile, he makes $78,000 a day. I don't have any words for it, but F you. He also said that since that's not a useful thing to say, he's going to keep his mouth shut and basically ride this out and see what happens. So we hope that Billy figures something out and he actually doesn't have to give up his home. But as been pointed out time and time again, most of the actors, even the ones on some of your favorite shows, are just working actors. And those wages are not necessarily locked in to sustain an extended strike or the way the business is set up. So we'll have to see what happens. Speaking of Disney, they have created a task force to study artificial intelligence. and they're trying to figure out how they can apply it across their conglomerate. You know, even as the writers are on strike, even as that is one of the points that is being battled out amongst them. So supposedly this initiative was launched earlier this year, and the group is looking to develop AI applications in-house as well as form partnerships with startups, according to Reuters. They said that Disney currently has 11 job openings seeking candidates with expertise in AI or machine learning. They touch every corner of the Disney operation, from Walt Disney Studios to the theme parks to the engineering group, right? So those are the Imagineers, you know, a lot of to deal with the special effects in the parks. You know, Disney is very advanced as far as those things come. So they are looking to get in AI in every aspect. That also includes their advertising team and Disney branded television. So it bears the thought. I know a lot of people say that they are not worried about AI coming for their jobs, but companies are investigating, and they're looking at any and every way that they can involve that source and utilize it. So one of the sources for the article said, obviously on a condition of being anonymous because they can't reveal company secrets, this person says that they view AI as a tool helping to control the soaring cost of being in the movie business. They said that, you know, production for a major film can swell to over $300 million. If you think of films like Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which did not do well, The Little Mermaid, budgets require a lot of box office to back that up. So if they can find a way to cut those costs down, their profit margin will obviously be larger. For the theme parks, they said that not only could AI enhance the customer experience, it also could enhance customer support, create different interactions that are unique to the individual coming to the park. So basically, you know how Disney tickets go up and up and up every year. I think for a family of four, it's close to $500 or $600 to go to Disneyland. Well, they're trying to think of ways to make it worth it with individualized experiences that are utilizing AI. So also with the shows that they can create, special effects, all of the obvious things. But the question is, are you comfortable with that? Are you open to more AI stepping into your life in other aspects? We already use it to a degree with prompts when we call certain customer service things. Obviously, it's spreading through things like ChatGPT. But are you open to it involving more and more aspects of your life? And does it make you question? I guess that could be my good question of the night. Are you concerned about the direction of AI and where it's going? And do you have any expectations for that? In the chat, Pretty Brown Mimi says, wow, I thought Billy Porter was on the upper end of money. Maybe not Dwayne Johnson money, but I thought Billy was doing well. JX No One says, Dwayne Johnson coming in with the support was a very bad move. Not a bad move. I'm bleeping out the profanity for you guys, okay? So follow me. As far as the wrestler to actor pipeline, so much respect due for The Rock, Dwayne Johnson coming in. He donated, I think it was $1 million at least, maybe $2 to the Screen Actors Guild Fund, which helps fund for health care, emergency initiatives for people that are out of work. They give them grants and bits of money to help them in between time as this is going on. So Pretty Brown Mimi also asked, can AI lower the Disney prices? Well, perhaps, because in theory, probably not realistically, because they want the profit margin to be larger. But in theory, what it would do would take down some of the back-end costs, some of the human costs that are attached to these TV shows, these films, the theme park experience, and replace them with artificial intelligence. So we'll have to see what the development process is for that, where we go with it, and what the evolution is as far as that. We will definitely be keeping an eye on that because, you know, things are happening. They're changing very, very fast. So I mentioned earlier that there was a study done, and it revealed that the number of older Americans living alone is on the rise. says nearly 16 million people aged 65 or older in the U.S. live solo in 2022. That is nearly 3 times the amount that lived by themselves in the same age group in the 1960s. So as baby boomers are getting older, and then we have Gen X coming up behind them, that number is expected to grow even more. So it's a lot of questions about where we are as far as infrastructure within the United States. So there are a bunch of reasons behind the shift. A lot of them are societal, including the economic gains. This is something that we talked about on this show a lot. With the 70s, I know that there's a lot of questions as far as the feminist movement, who it's benefited, how it's benefited. We know that ultimately it has benefited white women the most, but that's not to say that it hasn't benefited women overall. And with that movement came a rise in salaries for women, more independence, and less of a reliance, obviously, on marriage. So as the workforce shifts, as changing attitudes towards marriage and what it means to be married, if marriage is even a necessity at that point, we end up here where more and more people are living alone. There's also the phenomenon that a third of the people that are now getting divorced are over the age of 50. And there's a study done by Brown and I-Fin Lin, and it found that from 1990 to 2010, the divorce rate for people over 50 in the United States has more than doubled. And they're calling it gray divorce, right? So they're saying people are seeing their standard of living drop significantly because they make the decision to divorce later in life. For those couples, obviously, what you're doing there is you're dealing with the fact that these divorces could send them to poverty rates, because older adults are obviously on their way out of the workforce. That is a splitting of pensions, 401ks, property, and so they're saying that the care and the expectation for older adults is changing, right? So the research shows that people who are single and never been married, though, are more likely to have a happier existence than those that are divorced. The reason why? They were more likely to have kept in contact with friends, to have a social life, to be thriving in a life outside of their partner than those that are getting divorced later that may have let go some of those connections. So it's generally kind of the opposite of the stereotype that we're used to hearing, right? We're used to hearing that single people that get up there in age are generally more lonely. So let's not be naive. Loneliness is still a factor in all of this. But the problem is that in recent years, it's hovered about 28% of adults over the age of 55 or 60 living alone. But given the size of the baby boomer generation, that means that people who are in the age range of about 59 to 77, those numbers are rising. And with the housing crisis that is hitting this country, whether you think there really is or not, let's say affordable housing crisis, because I am one to believe that there probably is enough housing, but affordable housing, that's a different conversation. So their problems that they are concerned about are isolation, loneliness, social isolation, obviously, and the fact that these gray divorces are sending people into a deeper end of poverty, dealing with what we're already dealing with. So my question to you is, would you consider, as you got older, right, maybe not necessarily divorce, maybe just death? I mean, that is a realistic option. Or, just you were single, moving through life, maybe dating, never decided to cohabitate. What do you think about in your later years? Would you consider having a roommate? Would you think about moving in with family? Have you even thought about what life would be like for you at the age of 65 and 70 and who you would live with and how you plan to run your life? Just a topic, just something to think about and consider. So, speaking of youth, Issa Rae has some thoughts related to development and career and where she's at. In a recent interview, she talked about why she believes that having success later in life is actually greater than achieving it at a younger age. Maybe not for everyone, but she said for her, it was better. So let's hear about the reasons why she said success was greater coming later.
I don't think it's ever too late to get started. There are too many stories of people learning and getting their opportunities later. People like Morgan Freeman, who started late. And I think about Ava, who didn't pick up a camera till her mid-30s. My show didn't get greenlit until I was 30. I'm thankful for that because I always say if I had started to pop in my early 20s, I would be out here. So maybe it's good that you're popping later. You're more mature, and this doesn't define you, doesn't define who you are. And I do feel like I have more of a sense of self because I started later and because I knew I really wanted to do this.
So, there are lots of things that we can think about. You've heard the statement, maybe it's an old adage that used to be kicked around, youth is wasted on the young. I think that the reason why that's said is because a lot of thought process is that when you're young, even though you have the freedom to do things, you may not have the knowledge or the experience to, I guess, utilize that space and opportunity to the best of your ability, but how do you get the experience if not to just kind of go through some things? But to Issa's point, there's also a benefit to being older because when you're older, you may have a higher level of emotional intelligence. And for me, when you talk about success and you talk about the things that basically hold you down and hold you together, I think people don't value emotional intelligence as much as they should. I think they appreciate it, but I think we really don't look at what emotional intelligence means for you as far as your development, as far as your success factors, because that covers how you react to situations, that covers how you respond to letdowns, that covers how you generally move and operate throughout this thing that we call life. So we're going to hit up the chat. There's a couple of comments. JX01 says, I have a roommate now, and he's such a fun dude to hang out with. If they're good people, it can be wonderful. We share as much as we can, but we also give each other space. So, Jay, I'm just curious how old you are, and if you think that this is something that, given the circumstance, you would continue into older age. I think that I see the benefit of it, sharing expenses. People talk down a lot on roommates and that situation, but when you get older, I think there is the benefit of companionship. There is also the benefit of shared costs. You're 65. You may not want to spend $5,000 on apartment rent or whatever apartment rents are at this time, so it may not be terrible. When we come forward, we'll have more on this topic. We'll also have more of your comments. You are listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. News and sports are up next.
It's just the little things you do that show how much you really care. Like when I'm all alone with you, you know exactly what to do. You put that fire inside of me and make it more than just a dream. And I like it. You send chills in my spine every time I
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Doug Davis, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Police in Montgomery, Alabama say one person has turned themselves in and two others are expected to surrender in connection to a brawl at a river dock. Video of the fight that happened Saturday went viral on social media. It showed the black co-captain of a riverboat being attacked by a group of white men after police say he had asked them to move their boat, protested over what they call the city's refusal to bargain in good faith. According to a new study, an obesity drug called Wegovy could cut the risk of cardiovascular emergencies like heart attack and stroke by 20%. If the study holds up, it could be compelling enough to get insurance companies to provide coverage for the medication that costs $1,300 for a month's supply. And that is the latest. I'm Doug Davis from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Hi, we're Comparion Insurance Agency. Never heard of us? We know. But to help it stick that our local agents are insurance experts, we're going to say local agent 3 times in the next 5 seconds. Local agent, local agent, local agent.
Find us at comparinginsurance.com.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
Have you heard about Lendistry? Lendistry is a national Black-led small business lender that is headquartered right here in LA. Once you started your business, Lendistry provides flexible financing options starting at $50,000 to help you access the affordable capital needed to grow. Visit lendistry.com/KBLA to learn more.
KBLA Talk 1580 stands for Unity and Healing. African Focus Incorporated is a nonprofit organization based in California that focuses on the growth and well-being of Africans all around the world. Their mission is to promote the well-being of people of African descent through knowledge and appreciation of one another by building a bridge of love and understanding. African Focus Incorporated strives for cultural, educational, and economic growth. They're the organization behind the African Family Induction Ceremony, African Goodwill Awards, African Focus Trailblazer Tours, African Dance Competition and Showcase Los Angeles, Family Day, Good News Windows Microfinance Project, and more. To volunteer, travel with African Focus, or to attend one of their community building events, please call 310-676-7730. That's 310-676-7300. Or visit AfricanFocus.org. This is a diaspora-wide community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
JP Morgan Chase is building on the investments in California and around the country to help close the racial wealth gap and build a more equitable future. As part of JP Morgan Chase commitment, they are taking action to help improve financial wealth and access to banking in the Black community, helping more people open low-cost checking and savings accounts, hosting community seminars with supporting Black-led institutions by building awareness about financial investments, hiring community managers, and opening community center branches like Crenshaw, Inglewood, and downtown LA. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Get the tools to help reach your financial goals. Visit today, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity. Again, jpmorganchase.com/racial equity.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take and plan. Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Hey, I am Jasmine Carson, LSU Women's Basketball National Champion. I had to up my game, and this time I upped my intimate grooming routine too. Venus for Pubic Hair and Skin is the only razor and regimen specifically designed for your pubic area. Featuring a razor with a patented irritation defense bar and a skincare regimen that is dermatologist tested, Venus helps protect your pubic skin from shave irritation. Visit GilletteVenus.com to learn more about the full regimen of products.
Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You better come through with this mic. little thriller. B-cut. I need to see some gloves. This is Baby Be Mine, by the way. I'm not going to really try and sing because I can't, but, I'm feeling it. I'm in the moment. You are locked into hour 2 of RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580 with MJ, Andy rocking us out. Baby Be Mine was a cut. 1982 Thriller album right there. What are we saying? But anyway, back to these topics. We were talking about the fact that more older adults are living alone at this point in time. And as we always say, the YouTube chat is lit. So there's a lot of comments going on and flying in there. JX01 says, there is a stigma in us about cohabitation outside of marriage. I think this is almost a form of class war to further alienate workers and divide generations. In other places, like much of the global south, this is not the case. Pretty Brown Mimi says, well, I'm not cohabitating with a man without the benefit of marriage now or as I grow older either. The institution of marriage still appeals to me. But here's the thing, Mimi, cohabitation doesn't just necessarily mean with a man at that point. It could be with a good girlfriend. It could be with a relative. It's just the fact that getting older, pooling resources together. We always talk about it takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to maintain ourselves and a family at times, As you get older, health declines, maybe not for you, but maybe for someone you know. We talk about rising costs, obviously, and, I think that it is, especially if we look at what's happening with as far as affordable housing, and living alone just presents its own set of challenges, So it's something you might want to consider, maybe not you personally, and again, not necessarily with a man. Andy?
Yeah, I think culturally we need to maybe not take advice, but take notes from like other cultures, like the Latino culture, for example. They will have their grandparents. They'll have like 4 generations in the household. And my understanding is, they're not kicking none of their kids out at 18.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're going to stay in the house until it's, time to move on whenever you're ready. So I think we should take some, tidbits, from other cultures.
I mean, it's a way, we talk a lot about generational wealth, so it's a way to, if not build wealth, at least save, save for a rainy day. JX01 says, I guess living with parents / not having your own home as a class symbol, definitely more understandable from a religious angle. Didn't think of that specifically in my previous comment. So that's a good point. And Pretty Brown Mimi says, I can live with family or friends, just not a man. Okay, that's fair enough.
Maybe he doesn't trust herself, that's why.
Oh, okay, Mimi, you got called out there. You don't trust yourself. We'll have to talk about that because, the after hours is coming up. So, Mimi, feel free to call in 800-920-1580, and we can discuss why you may or may not trust yourself as far as a man. Apparently, you've dropped some tea somewhere along the line, Jay. We'll see if we can get into that. But as far as the next generation preparing to go into the golden years of their life and so forth, of course, there are businesses that are trying to figure out how they can capitalize on this as well as solve a problem, right? Because there are well-documented health consequences that are tied to loneliness and social isolation, right? So researchers and advocates naturally have been trying to come up with solutions, as well as businesses, because there's going to be a lot of innovation and money coming for this. So apparently there's some startups that are investing in things like robo-companionship, robotic dogs, areas of the metaverse, of course, artificial intelligence, which we talked about a little bit earlier. Right now, it's really taking off in Japan, and they are giving sort of a glimpse of what the future of aging and companionship could look like. So just something to consider. Would you consider, Like, well, Will Smith in, not iRobot, what was the other one? Where he had the German Shepherd dog and the disease and the things. What is the movie? And he had to... I Am Legend, that's it. iRobot was the other one. He had his companion, and he was really sad when he had to put the dog down. Spoiler alert, but I think that movie's like 20 years old. So if you haven't seen it, get on it, and don't worry about that little tidbit right there. But it is something to think about. What type of companionship would you have if you opted to live alone? And let's say if you were in one state, maybe on the East Coast or down south, and your family was on the West Coast or up north. What would you do? Would you consider like a little robo-dog? Would you have one running around, something you could talk to? I mean, we already, think about it. Think about all of the things. We talk to Alexa. We talk to Siri. What would it be to add one more little AI friend? We're getting into some interesting territory, and really, we're primed for it. It's so easy to slip right in there. Oh, Pretty Brown Mimi says, Andy, you are so messy. Yeah. So, I guess that means we're not getting that story tonight. It's okay, Mimi. Next time. Feel free to call in whenever you like. JX01 adds that I'm 37. When I'm older, I would be down, I think, to have some type of equity home situation. But now that the banks own the home through predatory lending, there's a real material difference. Generationally, also, more people are in the same type of jobs making less. So, there is a reprioritization of formerly middle-class homes and wanting to own homes. I think those are some very good points. Andy, you look like you have something to add.
Yeah, just, kind of like what Mimi was saying. Her whole thing is she believes in the whole institution of marriage or whatnot. I think the rise of polyamory or polygamy or whatnot, you know what I'm saying? They call them triads and quads and stuff like that. Like people are marrying together more than just two, 3, 4. A lot of it for economic purposes as well too. Like you said, it's to save money. I'm not advocating for it, but I'm just saying. Like,
but you understand it.
Yes, I understand that aspect of it.
I mean, in theory, did I just double that? I mean, I did. In theory, though, if you think about it, I think that has a lot to do with why we have so many conversations about side chicks and those type of relationships. Because if you get into it, the conversation around high-value men. And we can have another conversation for another day, what's considered a high-value man. But to Andy's point, contributing to a household, it is expensive out here, right? It is hard to do it by yourself. Even if you, let's say, can handle taking it on by yourself, do you, A, want to, and then B, what about when things come up like if your sink breaks? It would help if you had a guy to fix it, right? Maybe. I don't know. Those are things that people are considering. So I do think that is why we hear more conversation around it. Maybe before in the past it was happening, it just wasn't spoken out loud in the same way. And because, relatively speaking, the salaries were different, the salaries that they were making could go further to making sure home was straight and, paying Mrs. Robinson's light bill every now and again or things of that nature. When we come forward, we'll have more on this topic. We will also get into more trending topics and headlines. You are checking out RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing us into fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action is the youth component of the impactful CBO, known as the Community Coalition. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action has chapters at almost every South LA high school. Say Yeah, as they are popularly known, is located at 80th and Vermont, but serves young people all over South LA. Under the COCO umbrella, they train youth organizers, help underserved scholars prepare for college, and work with students to help them gain admission to top universities. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action fosters teen activism, where young people have led campaigns moving tens of millions of dollars to South LA schools and forcing officials to march on Washington, been published in major news outlets, and been elected to city council. Long before she was mayor, Karen Bass started the program when she founded the Community Coalition. To donate, volunteer, or enroll a student in South Central Youth Empowered Through Action, please visit cocsouthla.org. cocsouthla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Dominique DePrima here. Having a good credit score is one critical step to obtain a loan to buy a home. But did you know that your credit score is just one factor in getting a mortgage loan? Think about this. Lenders also consider your income, your employment history, current monthly debts, the size of the loan, and the amount of your down payment. Whatever your financial goals, U.S. Bank Access Commitment Initiatives support you in reaching them. Access your personal financial goals at usbank.com/access. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
Hey, it's Jill Munroe. You are locked into KBLA Talk 1580 for RSVP with Jill Munroe. Thank you for rocking with me, VIPs, in hour two. Now, I told you we would get back to more trending topics and headlines, and I thought this one was pretty interesting. You know, we heard a lot about Usher last month and what was going on at his shows. The ladies were showing up, falling out, feuding with baby daddies over their attendance there. But we didn't hear what Usher thought of everything about, all of the excitement, the brouhaha. Well, in an interview with People magazine, Usher described his singing to Keke Palmer as a pop moment. He said, every night I'm thinking about how the world now is going to react to a moment that I'll have with whomever I'm choosing to sing to, he explained. But it was a pop moment, and it was fun to have at least those conversations going. And we're just going to keep it light. I don't see anything negative about anything that happened in Vegas. So I know you recall Keke's baby daddy, Darius Jackson, took issue with the outfit that she had on, and, Usher singing There Goes My Baby, and she's singing it back. He said, you're a mother. It's the outfit, though. So we've talked about that to death, though. But Usher basically says, despite what anyone says, everyone's conclusion is that they had a good time that night. I think everybody's version is a vision of what they believe happened while they were there. It just leads you to come back. We were just really having a good time in Vegas, and that's what I hope came out of it, he said. Andy?
I heard some criticism about Usher holding himself accountable. Having an understanding that who you're serenading is married or in a relationship. Should he have maybe chosen someone else? I get this is another celebrity, Keke Palmer, Usher, blah, 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 whatever, but could you have chosen somebody else?
I mean, here's the thing, though. If Keke didn't want to be chosen, she could have actively not participated. I really think that, one, it's a show. You are there to be entertained. Two, I do not expect Usher to keep track of everybody that is attending his shows' relationship status. That is unrealistic. You know what happens in those seats. Regardless if it's Usher's show or someone else's show, you know that if you sit in certain seats that are near the stage or you go around it, that goes for a comedy show, that goes for a concert, you are subject to becoming a part of the night's events, right?
Double standard.
It's not a double standard.
No, I'm about to give you another scenario. So, Keke Palmer's dude is at the strip club getting a lap dance.
Here's the thing. Me, myself, I have no issues with that. That's a form of entertainment. Go out. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you go there, you have fun. Strip clubs have good wings, too. It's entertainment. It's what it is. Now, if you're trying to take baby girl home, if you are trying to pay her rent or mortgage for the month, perhaps that's a little different. But if you throw in a couple hundreds there and that's what the night is on, that is what the night is on. That type of stuff, I feel, that's communication, that is knowing your partner, that is discussing what makes you comfortable within the relationship. I think that people forget that a relationship is between two people. So really it's about what we decide is okay for our relationship, not what outsiders think, not what it looks like to someone else, you know? So I'm not one of those people that is going to be like, my man can't be in the strip club. He can't. I mean, do I want you there every night? No. But you don't want me singing with Usher every night. You know what I'm saying? So that's just kind of how it goes. But I don't have a problem with you going out, having a good time. We're not turning on locations. We're not, send me a picture of your environment. I don't have time for that. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to you for that.
I mean, real rap. I do not, if I have to keep tabs on you like that, we don't need to be in a situation. I need to be able to trust that you will conduct yourself as an adult. You value and understand the situation that we are in. We have discussed at some point, I would hope, things that make you uncomfortable or make me uncomfortable and how we can avoid them or come to some type of compromise. And, you know, take it from there. Everybody's an adult. I like to have a good time. I like to see the person that I'm with have a good time, and you can't be insecure, I think. Obviously, there are situations and standards and things that, you know, people are like, no, never, not even. But you talk about those things, and you address them, and you lead with the fact that you are with this person, and there should be some type of trust in the situation. At least those are my thoughts about it. Pretty Brown Mimi says, why didn't Darius say something to Keke before she went to the show?
I agree.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. However, here's something to consider. Maybe they were on a break. Maybe they were having a little tiff at the time. We don't necessarily know. There might have been some separation and, you know.
Yeah, and that's the wrong outfit to wear if we had a tiff or something.
Why? That might be the right outfit to wear. It might be trying to get his attention. But here's the thing. He, again, going back to this, he put photos of her up, you know, in various stages of undress on his own Instagram.
Prior, yeah.
So, you know you with a baddie, right? A beautiful woman.
Yeah, he did that to flex on his homeboys or something.
Right. You know that she is attractive. You know that there are men out. She could have came and been in, you know, a Little House on the Prairie nightgown, right? Shapeless. And still had the same actions. And somebody still would have had a problem with it. So I feel like had the exact same scenario gone down, except there was no interaction with Usher, maybe she was just standing up in that, would he reacted the same way? I still think it was a little bit of the intimidation because the reality is, you know, maybe for the average guy and their girlfriend, it's a fantasy thing. They're like, Usher ain't going to take you home. Usher's not going to drop your number in there. But Usher could get to Keke. Usher could pull Keke. And that was probably what set Darius off. But if he knew anything about Usher, he would know that Keke's too young for him. I'm just playing. But I mean, we know Usher generally tends to date older women. Nothing wrong with that. Shout out to Usher for dabbling with the Cougars. We also know, though, and this is just a random side, that Usher has been known to move on in a relationship before he is officially deaded that relationship. So, fear factor. But I go back to, Darius, do you trust your woman?
I'm glad that you pointed that out because I can't speak for all men. I am a man, you know what I'm saying? So I'm going to speak just from my, my individual lens or whatnot. But I do think a lot of men feel this way. It doesn't matter whether this individual is a celebrity. It doesn't matter if this individual is a high-value man or anything like that. Just the mere thought of another guy having a thought that he can take your girl is an issue.
Is it really?
Ego-wise, yeah.
Here's the thing, though. My thought process is he can think it all he wants, right? But do you trust your girl? Because that's what it boils down to. I can think whatever I like. The action has to be taken by the individual. They have to consent. They have to be with it. They have to say, come on. And if you know you got your boo, you guys are tight, why are you concerned about that?
Because it's Usher.
Usher, baby.
How can you compete? You know what I'm saying? That's how he's probably looking at it like. It's one thing to trust your woman, but, every relationship that I've been in, there's always been like that little fun discussion about, who's your celebrity crush, and if you met your celebrity crush, you know what I'm saying, would I give you a pass? And I swear, every relationship I done had, they was like, yeah, I'd give you a pass if you came across your celebrity crush.
Who's your celebrity crush?
Right now? Nobody. But
who was it?
Coming up was T-Boz from TLC.
Okay.
Then it transferred over to Eve.
Okay.
I'll tell you.
So you like the short hair. You like the fashion fly. Okay. They're giving you image. Yep. They're giving you full visage.
And it's funny, Keke Palmer was probably like my last celebrity crush.
Are you turned off by the actions of Keke?
No.
Did you sell it? No?
I was more turned off by Eve, marrying an old boy. But
Listen, after Stevie J, Eve is allowed to do whatever she wants to do.
Stevie J, you messed it up, honey.
She went through some things, So Eve is happy. She got a little baby. She bounced back. She over there going to the Gumball 3000 race. She not thinking about y'all.
Billionaire problems, huh?
Right?
Yeah.
Billionaire problems. She's like, what y'all got going on? Okay. In hour 3, when we come forward, we're going to talk about Beyonce's special tour request. We're going to talk about the Made in America Festival being canceled and why we think something may have gone down. We're going to talk about a brazen New York City theft ring that was busted. We're going to give you the details on that. And we're going to give you an update on a former NFL star and his brother who has been convicted of murder of a youth football coach. All of that and more when we come forward. You are checking out RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
I won't give you reason to change your mind. I guess it's you are all the future that I desire. Girl, I need to hold you. I'm feeling in the heat of the rain.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Doug Davis, and here's the latest from the Black Information.